Welcome to the GSMC Business News Podcast, the show dedicated to keeping you up to date on all things concerning business, technology, and the stock market. Get a head start on the day as we keep you updated on the latest goings-on Wall Street, money, jobs, and technology. If you're looking for a podcast to keep you informed and ahead of the game in business, the GSMC Business News Podcast has you covered.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Business Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Moriah, and today we'll be talking about courier services, the delivery service industry, and how it's been impacted. As you know, every industry, especially every major industry, whether in the United States or worldwide, has been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. We are in year 2021, and this began around 2019. However, we still are seeing some lasting effects. And right now, a lot of businesses are just trying to get through the time. But one industry, I believe, who saw a surplus, although negatively impacted in other ways, has been the logistics industry. Now, when I say logistics, I'm talking about everything delivery. So from food to groceries to, different raw materials that are needed for different things and different industries, like wood, if you needed metal delivered for certain projects, something as simple as some certain type of plastics that get delivered to create things like bottles and bottle tops. Everything that you can think of gets delivered or shipped in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And so the logistic industry is very, very important, especially to a country who is heavily involved in, retail shipping. We live in the country that we're in the United States. We rely heavily on, on our retail shipping services as a consumer. So from the consumer standpoint, we are looking for different ways to get things to us the quickest, thanks to Amazon. Once I realized that there was something called same-day delivery, I was sold. I was sold because I live in a major city and I hate how long it takes to get certain things done. So you might be going somewhere and there's traffic. You might be waiting in line and it's a long line at, your favorite food spot. And then by the time you leave, you forgot you had to go to the convenience store to grab something. And now with certain delivery services, you're able to just do all of that from home and you don't even have to leave the house, right? So you can have your favorite food being delivered from a company like Uber Eats. And then you can have, your toiletries delivered from something like GoPuff. And then you can have your car picked up and taken to, your favorite mechanic to get an oil change. And it's all through delivery services. There's so many different delivery services that are on the rise right now. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Just some major trends to look out for that I believe are going to stick with us long after the pandemic is gone and when things get to be quote-unquote normal again. Some things you should know if you're a business owner or a potential business owner who is looking to maybe change careers or get into entrepreneurship. You might want to start your own delivery service, which I have seen a lot of people do. I've mentioned in previous episodes how my personal business for the city of Philadelphia, we use a local delivery guy. It's Philly Express, and he comes and picks up the packages for us. We don't really have to do anything besides pay him. And he is doing an amazing job. Our customers love how quickly their items are getting to them. So things like that are going to become the new normal. So that's just what we'll be talking about today. And then, of course, we're going to get into our hometown heroes. So just to get started, let's do some statistics. Let's get into the nitty gritty of the logistics industry. The COVID-19, the pandemic has impacted every sector of business, and it was first felt in China. If you all can recall, that's when we saw major shifts going on because disruptions to manufacturing in China began to ripple through every other supply chain across the world. So not only did America see disruptions, other countries who do get products and things from China also saw it. And then that's when we, the consumers, eventually begin to see how big this pandemic was, not only because of health concerns, but because of business concerns. Every time there's some type of recession or a pandemic or a depression, businesses are always affected, especially in the United States, because we rely heavily on small business. So when things of this capacity happen, it's hard not to notice the different trends and the different things that's going on during this time. So once, that whole disruption in manufacturing spread to the rest of the world, you begin to see, ocean freight, that those ports weren't seeing as much activity. Land freight, that wasn't seeing much activity. Especially air. Packages that got shipped through air, they were seeing a sharp reduction in flights with manufacturing, even outside of manufacturing, just people trying to fly to different places. The shelter-in-place order had everything jammed up, so it wasn't really much that you could do or that you could ship during that time. And if you were shipping during that time, I do remember that a lot of people, like business owners, for example, were shipping items, were getting items drop shipped through by boat. So they would pay for that because it was said to be cheaper than getting things shipped through the air. Because of this, many business owners were beginning to see an increase in the cost of shipping. So if you're in business or you sell products, not so much the service industry, but those who are selling physical items like clothing and maybe electronics, for example, they were seeing an increase in the price it was taking to actually get the product. You might need to get it embezzled with something, or you might need to get it embossed with something. So the time it was taking to get that done was extended because of the shelter-in-place orders. And then you were beginning to see longer shipping times from the manufacturer to you, the owner, or to your dropship location. And then we were seeing an increase in the time it was taking to get from that location or from you, the owner, to the customer or to the store. So there was a lot of delays happening. That's why if you were paying attention, or if you were online shopping like myself during that time, you were taking a look at the different updated policies. So at the top of every website, I want to say for the most part, there was a red banner talking about the COVID-19 pandemic and how there was a delay with shipment and how long it was going to take for you to get your items. Now, while the big guys, the big names, I'm talking FedEx and UPS and Amazon, while they have bigger budgets and they have more revenue, more profit, they were able to, I feel, really keep up with the demand. Although shipment times were delayed when I was getting items from those major delivery services, I wasn't seeing that much of a delay. So while I did get very used to, getting same day, next day delivery, I am an avid Prime shopper. I might need to start a support group because as many packages as I've been buying during this pandemic, and other neighbors, because you see the truck coming down the street every day. You're like, I wonder if that's my package. So a lot of people were definitely ordering during this time. While some major companies weren't seeing a big hit, those smaller players, those small role players, were definitely seeing a hit, because during that time, specifically in 2020, And I want to say at like the height of it, so between March and close to the summer months or leading into the summer months, a lot of people were going with who they trusted. So you didn't want to order a product and get it shipped through a third party, delivery service. Now, some people have always had faith in small business and local business. However, when there is a health crisis or some type of worldwide crisis, people tend to go with who they trust and who they know. So during that time, a lot of the smaller delivery services were seeing a decrease in sales with their shipping because people were relying on the big names. And nothing is wrong with that. It's nothing wrong with, trusting who you trust and going with who you know. But some small businesses definitely saw a decrease in sales at that time. Now, because of this, a lot of, these logistic companies have begun to figure out different ways of how they're going to fare during this time and how to really recover a lot of their losses that happened. So, a lot of airline industries were reallocating their fleets to meet the demands of the pandemic and now to meet the demands of what we're seeing as the rise in the technology and the e-commerce business. So it's like logistics, it's right in the middle of this highly tech-driven era, or as many experts like to call it, it's the tech revolution. Like, technology is taking over everything. I personally love technology. It's just interesting to see how some of the smaller brands are going to have to adjust to weather the storm that we're in. Although things are beginning to open up, we are hearing about the rises in cases of COVID-19 in other countries and other states around the country who have seen, their numbers go back up now that they're opening. So we may see another dip. They were speaking of waves, so we may be seeing another wave, especially going into the summer months. People are looking to get out. Kids have been virtually learning all year long. I know the little ones around me are itching to go somewhere. So, you're going to see a lot of people having to make tough decisions during these summer months. So we may see an increase in the number of cases, and that could directly affect business again, because of, everyone's just looking for convenience. They're looking for easier ways to get what they need, and companies are trying to meet those demands. So you're going to see, definitely going to see a rise in the investments in technology, to get things, computed easier. Some, shopping websites and applications are going to have to invest into their systems to meet the demand of those who are purchasing. It's nothing worse than going online and you're trying to hurry up, and purchase something, and the system is lagging because there's an influx of customers shopping at the time because a lot of people aren't going into stores anymore. I know I'm a big one who is not a fan of going into the stores. Personal story, I always hated in-person shopping. It was never my thing. I just never understood why I would go into a store and try on clothes and then put them back on the rack. It always grossed me out. But that's just me. I have a little bit of OCD. So that aspect of shopping has always bothered me. So now that everything's online, companies are getting much, much better with having the items get back to me quicker. So before, it used to take a really long time to get items, during the return process. But now companies are really looking to see how they can shorten that time. So right now, you're going to see a lot of different pivots within the shipment systems and industry around this time, because these companies are trying to keep up with the demand. Nobody in business wants to go under. So these companies are going to look for multiple ways of meeting customers' needs. Like mine's, for example, my need is a very specific need. I don't want to go into the store and shop for clothes. I'd rather my clothes come already packaged. I know that there's, some health measures taken there. So for me and other customers like myself, will be the influx of the e-commerce shipment business. So I think you should, keep your eyes out for that. And businesses are definitely taking advantage of all the data that's coming out. With the social media age, you can leave reviews on any site. You can, leave reviews and comments on review applications or review pages. So, now's the time to really sit back, observe, keep your operations going, but really take in what's going on right now, because we're definitely going to see an increase. Although we're seeing a change, it's definitely going to be a lot of growth. So, a lot of companies are also looking to shorten their reach. So before, it was about going global. We ship to countries worldwide. That was always the biggest thing. Like, okay, they'll ship it anywhere. So if I have family over, I don't know, let's say in South Africa, I can ship them items. If you had family in Europe, you could ship items to them and they could ship things to you. And, from food to cars, it literally, you can move anything, if you go through the right proper channels. So now, because of the pandemic, and we see that the global economy can be affected so greatly, some companies are pivoting and looking to shorten that reach. So instead of going so far globally, they're looking to maybe do some things more locally, so that just in case we do see something else like this happen, business owners are prepared. So while all of this is going on, it's very diverse, this industry. There's, again, the big names, then you have the smaller names. We're going to see a lot of changes going on during this time, trying to serve, with these companies trying to service multiple clients from all different sectors. We're going to see some companies are going to end up getting bought out. So we'll see some mergers, we'll see some acquisitions going on. And we might see some smaller guys, reign supreme and kind of take business to the next level because they see an opening in the market. So that's definitely something we want to pay attention to. We're going to get ready to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get into just some trends that I believe we're going to see for a long time now that we understand the dynamic of, the diversity and the change in the industry. And then we'll get into some things that you should know as an entrepreneur, and, when trying to break into this delivery business. And then we'll get into some hometown heroes, okay? So we're just going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for a podcast that gives you all of the latest news from the world of finance? Then check out the GSMC Financial News Podcast. We'll delve into the ups and downs of the stock market, changes in the economy, and news from the world of real estate and technology. From breaking news on the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, or the overseas market, to updates on the bond market, if there's money to be made, we'll cover it on the GSMC Financial News Podcast.
And we're back. Thanks again for tuning in. And today we're talking about the logistics of the carrier industry and how they're faring during this time. I always love to take a look at the pivot in different industries when outside factors play a role into how they operate. Our outside factor right now, and what I think is going to be our outside factor for a while, is the COVID-19 pandemic. It's definitely disrupted many industries, and the logistics industry specifically has been disrupted. Now, the big names, not so much. They haven't really seen, huge losses. However, they still have seen some losses, and the smaller delivery couriers have definitely seen impact. So, it's definitely something to keep an eye out for. And now that these changes have occurred, I think that there's just going to be a few trends that don't go away for a while. The biggest trend is the consumer. Now that we know that these brands can deliver items as quickly as possible, and many different kind of items, and I don't even have to leave my home. Now, this began before the pandemic, but now that the pandemic has reached its peak, a lot more consumers who normally love the in-store shopping experience are starting to see the convenience, of just getting things delivered to your home. I had a friend who got a whole bed delivered. I'm talking like a king size, like memory foam, like thick mattress, box spring, bed frame. Everything was delivered, I want to say, in like 2 days. Now, before it might have took up to 2 weeks to get something like that delivered, or you might have got it delivered to a pickup center, and then, you had to figure out a way to get it home, or you had to pay an exuberant amount of extra fees to get it delivered to you from the center. Now, many companies are figuring out ways to use, local carrier vans and trucks, like U-Haul, for example, and they're getting items delivered. So you could be a small e-commerce business, and you can have a virtual team set up in different cities and get them to deliver certain items. So we're just seeing a lot of different creative and, I would say, innovative ways on how delivery is being done. And now that consumers are very, very aware of this, I don't think we're going back, ladies and gentlemen. I think we're going to stay just like this. The consumer is going to continue looking for convenience, especially with the trickiness with the vaccines. We're not sure who's going to have the vaccine, if it's going to be mandatory for everyone to have it. So some people are just going to stick with the shelter-in-place orders as much as they can, even though these orders are being lifted. Consumers we're kind of stuck in our ways. We can be very fickle, but sometimes when we get a good thing going, we want to keep it going for as long as possible. So I think these shopping behaviors that consumers are doing right now is definitely going to stick long after we go back to our normal. And the small guy, I believe, is going to have their time to shine, or the small lady. Shout out to Women's History Month. I think we're definitely going to see the smaller owner figure out better ways to reach the populace. So, again, like we talked about briefly before the break, a lot of these businesses were so focused on going global and hitting a global market and getting as much as possible. They don't have the same pull, in my opinion. They don't have the same pull or the same kind of reach when it comes to the community. So while they may be known in the community might not know them very well. Now, with a smaller guy, they're going to be able to really look around their city or their town or their tri-state and really figure out the need of that specific area and the fluctuations and the demand in certain items. I remember during the summer of 2020, a lot of people around my neighborhood were looking for different grills and different patio setups because they were looking to, have some intimate gatherings. At one point, we were only allowed to have about 5 people in a specific space. Then that opened up to 10. Although the CDC advised not to do any type of gathering, a lot of consumers and customers were just figuring out different creative ways to keep the normal as much as possible, especially with small children who just couldn't understand what was really going on at the time. So in my neighborhood, I remember I was looking for a grill and I couldn't find one anywhere. So I had like 2 at the time. I'm a big griller. I like to grill and barbecue and all that. So I had 2 at the time. I had to just revamp one of the grills that I currently had. So it was nice to, I forgot how good it cooks, seafood. So that was pretty cool. But I did end up going to certain stores looking for different grill washes and all this kind of materials. And I'm like, you know what, let me just order it online. So it was definitely some trends that if you were a delivery service during that time, you would have been able to see that. You can see how many customers are walking out the stores with certain things. A lot of businesses put their annual, their quarterly, their monthly reports online. So for the small guy, for the small girl, I do believe that this is going to be your time, and that's something that you should definitely hone in on because, opportunities don't come around all the time. Now, although the pandemic was a bad thing, this is the time for growth and for change. So this may be your time to shine. So I think we're going to see that begin to increase. Now, again, delivery volume is just through the roof. Like I mentioned, my neighborhood, there's some elderly individuals around. So it's a constant delivery trucks coming through the neighborhood. I want to say all day, every day long. Like even in the snow, there was Amazon and, the local grocery store was doing home delivery for the groceries. And we saw an influx in and Uber drivers. So, with a lot of the big name delivery couriers, specifically in the food industry, like Uber Eats and Postmates and DoorDash, we saw an increase. I mean, you can look some of these stats up. There was an increase in how many people joined these companies. So, you can work your 9 to 5 if you have a car that you own or a car that you're leasing or however you decide to play it. You can take that car or that vehicle. You can sign up for one of the courier services and you can begin to deliver food. So what I began to notice is that many of these businesses are offering different deals. They're offering different rates. They're just being creative on how they're pulling in customers and how they're meeting the demand. So many people are ordering food now and not going to the actual store, not even calling the actual store to order their food. A lot of people are going through these food services, and while the price ends up like the price that you pay to get your food delivered, it's almost 20% more than it would cost if you combine the gas and mileage you use to get to your favorite food spot, buy the food, and drive back home. It's about, if you go through these apps, it's about a 20% increase. But the convenience is what a lot of individuals are willing to pay for. So we're definitely going to continue to see a demand in the automation of the delivery business. Now, I believe another trend that we're going to see is customers looking for a better delivery experience. So I worked for a big courier before, and I saw the way packages were tossed around. It was not a good thing. Customers now because we're getting local delivery services to deliver items to us, figuring out which big name we want to stick with to get our items shipped to us if, certain brands and companies offer different shipping options. A lot of individuals are looking for a better experience when it comes to the delivery. So some big names, there were some different challenges going on TikTok and other social media sites where they were dancing in between their deliveries. They might have took a break and, they got tagged to do a challenge, so they were dancing. Things like that is what's pulling the customers in. We want to know the person behind the machine. And when I mean the machine, I mean the daily operation. I order my package, I wait a few days, I get a tracking number, I track the package, I wait some more days because it's the pandemic, so more than likely the number isn't right. I finally get the package. It's the wrong item that I ordered, and the packaging is so beat up that now the person I purchased it from or the brand that I purchased it from, they don't want to do a return for me. There was a lot of headaches and a lot of hiccups, especially once the pandemic hit and there were so many delays in delivery. So customers are definitely looking for a better experience. They're not just looking to get their package on time. They want to get, maybe a nice thank you letter or a thank you note, I should say, like a postcard attached to their item. They might look for better packaging. So I remember, I want to say Walmart and Amazon was the first packages I really paid attention to when eCommerce started to bubble towards the late, 2010s and leading into 2020. Amazon, they had nice Christmas boxes that they would decorate, and Walmart had their logo plastered on the boxes that they were receiving, and then you open it up and you might get, a newsletter or something like that. Customers are looking for the full experience. So it's almost like when your kids and Mr. Softy is coming down the street. Like I said, in my neighborhood, there's always some type of delivery truck coming down the block. So when you see that Amazon truck, or you hear that beeping because the Amazon truck is trying to back into a certain spot, you just get excited like, ooh, it might be my package in the mail. So a lot of customers like that experience. They like feeling that although this delivery guy is delivering packages to everyone on the block, mine is specifically very important. They take a picture of it and you get an email confirmation that your package has been delivered. And the return policies are getting much more refined. The privacy policies on different websites are getting much more refined. You don't want to get caught in the weeds like some of these other companies who didn't take the time out to really update their information. Now that we're in a global pandemic and people are just trying to make sure they're doing things right and getting things right. The little fine-tuned things is what customers are looking to keep. So I think the trend of high expectations on delivery of items is going to continue to increase in the years to come. And one other trend, although there are a few that I'm sure you can, do your own personal research on. I always harp on it. I love doing my research. So if you find any type of articles or any news, any updates with what I'm talking about, make sure you leave us a review. Just let us know what we can touch on more, more conversation that we can get into. I could talk about business all day. But yeah, that other trend that I think we're definitely going to see is the automation behind delivery. So before, again, you just had your major carriers, and then you started to see these smaller carriers pop up, like Uber Eats and Postmates, for example. Now I believe we're going to start seeing drone-like automation. So where before you might have had a plane take items from one fulfillment center to the next, and then if you have ever tracked your packages, you can see, okay, they flew to Idaho and they picked up one item, then they had to fly to Kansas and then Texas, and then they took it to Boston, and now it's back to me where I'm at in Philly. I've seen some crazy places. I'm like, well, what's going on? What I believe we're going to see, and I'm hoping that we'll start to seeing, is instead of them going from Idaho to Kansas to this place to that place, we're just going to see it at one fulfillment center, and then maybe a drone like shipment where they'll fly it to the next facility. Some futuristic individuals think that we're going to have drones at our doorsteps with our packages. Now that would be cool. I hope I see that in my lifetime. So we're going to begin to start seeing shifts. I don't think we're going to see them as wide scale as we believe we are. Because, with every new innovation, things take time. So while it might not happen tomorrow or next year, I do believe we are going to see that automation in the industry. I don't think we're going to have our traditional trucks just driving and dropping packages off pretty soon. So again, today we're talking about logistics and that industry and how different couriers are trying to pivot and do things very differently to gain customers, retain customers, shorten their reach from trying to go global to maybe scaling down a little bit just in case another lockdown does occur. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're just going to get into some things that you should know if you're looking to get into the business. Just some pitfalls that you can avoid, things of that nature, and then we'll get into some hometown heroes. All right, so stay locked in. We'll be right back.
Do you work in the world of marketing and advertising? Are you a media buyer or the owner of an agency? Have you been looking for a podcast to help stay on top of all the goings on of those worlds? The GSMC Marketing News Podcast is dedicated to keeping you up to date on all things concerning marketing and advertising. Get the latest marketing news, from what major businesses have planned for the coming year, to the newest trends in advertising, from podcasts, digital and streaming, to the old standbys of radio, television, and billboards. The GSMC Marketing News Podcast has you covered, whether you're a marketing agent or a business trying to expand your brand.
Back, everybody. Again, today we're talking about the logistics industry, how it's faring during the pandemic. We saw some businesses take a hit. Some couriers have taken a hit. Some countries have taken a hit because they rely heavily on the import and exports of goods and products. And we've seen some different businesses pivot. We've seen them meet the demands of the customers, and we've also seen some different trends happening. Some experts believe that we'll see automation like drones dropping off our items in the near future. We understand that now that customers know that things are easier to do with technology. A lot of customers are looking for a better delivery experience from these companies now that they know better. It's almost like the old saying, when you know better, you do better. At least you should do better. So a lot of customers are looking for that from these different carriers. So if you're looking to get into the business, you want to pay attention to the trends. You want to pay attention to what's going on. And you want to pay attention to the customers. You also want to look out for some pitfalls and things that you should avoid. So how do you start a courier or a delivery business? You want to first make sure that you're the right person for this job. Now, I worked for a courier before. I was not a driver. I worked in the actual fulfillment center. And speaking with some drivers, I was just trying to see how I wanted to move within the company. And speaking with the drivers, you really had to be a people's person. I remember one driver told me he ran into an elderly customer, and she was just giving him a hard time because the last delivery person that was coming out to deliver her items, well, her and her husband, I should say, the last delivery driver was just not very nice to them. They would come out, and she said, first it started off nice. She was just looking for her package, and she hadn't gotten it, and sometimes her house and another house, their address will both pop up, and sometimes their packages would get delivered wrong. So the last delivery driver wasn't so nice about the whole thing. I'm not sure. Maybe they just didn't like what they did. Again, you want to make sure this is right for you. Or they could have just been having a bad day. Either way, you want to make sure you're looking out for the consumer. And although the driver that I had spoke with, who took over that route, said, the customer, her and her husband were kind of giving him a hard time. Eventually, he did wear them down. He made sure that he took time out to know their names, so that when he did go to deliver it, he could look at the package and understand. Maybe the GPS took him around in a loop, and he knew exactly what the house looked like. He made sure he knew what their car looked like, so that when he did go to drop off items, it was never mixed up or never wrong. Now, to this day, I'm not sure how that goes, but I thought that was a great thing to do. Even though this wasn't his company, he was treating it like it was his, right? So if you're getting into this business, it's those little people skills that you definitely want to make sure that you have. You might be someone who's always constantly running errands. You could be a house dad or a house mom, and you're constantly in the car. You're constantly going from point A to point B. You might drive past a lot of homes that get deliveries and shipments from local stores, and you might be one that's paying attention to that. This might be something for you. It's good money to be made depending on what you charge. Different people charge different rates. I've seen some rates as low as $5 per package. Other rates are $20 per package, and it increases depending on the size of the item that's being delivered or the bulk of the order that's being delivered. Now, this is the type of business that actually doesn't take that long to start up, so you could get up and running in as little as a month. And that really will depend on how quickly you can get things up and running. So if you already have a reliable truck or van or vehicle, or you have an additional truck or van, or vehicle that you're not using, you already have, a portion done because you already have your delivery vehicle. Then you want to set up the legal structure. Is it a sole proprietorship? Is it an LLC, which is a limited liability company? Is it going to be a partnership? Is it an LLC that is a partnership? You want to definitely talk to, an expert. I always recommend speaking with the experts. That's why we have them. And an expert, a lot of people say it takes about 10 years for you to really become an expert. So you want to go to someone who has some experience. I always like giving the little guy a chance. But you do run into some issues dealing with the smaller, less experienced individuals who can help get your business structured. With this age of technology, you can do a simple Google search. How should I structure my delivery service? Right into Google, and thousands of articles will pop up. So getting structured nowadays isn't as hard. I remember when I got my business structured, I took it to a local firm in the city, and he got me together within, I want to say, 30 minutes. Not even. So I like to pay for convenience in some cases. So I did end up paying for convenience, but it was worth it, and I haven't had any problems since. So you definitely want to take the time out, make sure you're handling everything right. You want to get your license, your business license in your state. You want to get your tax identification number, just those little things. You want to make sure you have insurance on that vehicle that you have, because just in case anything happens, you want them to understand that this is a car or a vehicle for commercial purposes, which is very different from just driving, a cake to your friend's house. When you're really dealing with the public and you're dealing with multiple businesses, you want to make sure you have the proper insurance, because if anything happens, you don't want to be held liable for that, okay? You definitely want to make sure you have that insurance too, because again, say something happens and the packages get ruined. I remember in my city in Philly, there was an accident on one of our major highways, and the delivery truck was ripped in half. Now the driver was okay, thank God. But the packages they were everywhere. It was like ruined packages all across the road. They had to create, I believe it was like one lane so they can get it all cleared out. Now, although they are a big company, so I'm sure they can afford to reimburse customers and refund customers and get items back out to them. As a smaller company, you run into that risk and you don't have commercial delivery insurance, for your vehicle. You can run into big problems. You can actually get hit with lawsuits. So you just want to make sure you have all of that together. I always recommend having some type of attorney on your payroll, or someone that you can go to, some friends that you can go to, some expert friends who can give you some expert advice if you're not able to pay for certain services just yet. Because again, you are just getting started. Now, just some things that you should have. You want to have your name. You want to make sure it hasn't been trademarked by anybody. There's some easy websites that you can go to. You can type it right into your Google. There is a database. It's the USPTO.gov database where you can search the United States Patent and Trademark Office for anyone who has trademarked a name. Once you get into the swing of doing your delivery, you don't want to be using a certain name. John Doe's delivery service, and someone already has a trademark and they've been operating for 15 years and you just weren't aware. You want to definitely make sure your name stands out, but you want to make sure you can own it. You want to make sure that, because when you get your domain and you get your social media and you might have digital or you might have paper business cards, you want to make sure everything follows that same flow, that John Doe delivery services across the board, because you are new. And you want to make sure that customers and other businesses are able to spot you out. So what are some tools that you might need, during this time? So we already talked about your truck or your van or your car. You want to have a good system in place for tracking orders. So again, there's a local guy that my business uses, and he has a user application. So you can type it in online, you can sign up for an account, and then through the account, you have your pickup location, you have your delivery addresses, you can print out your invoices and stick them onto your packages, or he can do that for you. I like to still be somewhat involved in the whole process. I do kind of miss the packaging and sending things out, and at some points I was doing drop-offs, and when you're first getting started, you are popping the trunk, right? So I do kind of miss that aspect. So I do still like to get involved with printing out my invoices. And although he's great, I like to be on top of my work and make sure it's going to the right place. So as the owner, you want to do the same. Now, he treats the packages as if it's his company and he's delivering items. But I like to have that option. So I think that's something great to offer to customers. Again, you just want to fine tune your system, because anyone can have a business, but if you don't work to get the best system down, you're kind of just running in the rat race. The people who stand out, or the businesses who stand out to me, have awesome systems in place. Like Amazon has a Prime system in place. So certain items and certain products you can get delivered same week, same day, next day, within the next 3 days, right? That's, to me, that's a great system to have in place because some things are an emergency. So as a business owner, you just want to make sure you have that option. You definitely want to have a good GPS system. So I know we tend to just use our phones and type in addresses, but I remember the days of MapQuest, and you had to put the address in, where you're coming from, where you're going, and any other stops, and you had to print it out, and you had, your friend in your passenger side, and they're reading these directions off, right? It's almost the same thing. You want to treat it the same. I'm not saying go back to printing out paperwork and looking down while you're driving. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is you want to have a clear, streamlined, directional system, right? You don't want to just put addresses into your phone. You want to be able to put it in a way that you have a copy of all the deliveries you've done. Your system is efficient. It's not the type of system that will go out, if you hit a dead zone. So that's why, although you might not want to write things down, it would be good to have a database or an Excel spreadsheet while you're first getting started of just all the addresses that you're delivering to. That way you can work on efficiency. So you're not, going to the north side of the city and then you have to drive all the way to the south side. You want to make sure you're doing your north side deliveries at the same time, your south side deliveries at the same time. And you might want to go from north to west to south to east. You might not want to go from top to bottom because that cuts out time. So that's just some experience that I've had doing drop-offs for my company, and that's some experiences that some drivers that I spoke to, some delivery carriers some local ones that I spoke to. They are always looking for ways to deliver the packages in the quickest manner, right? You want to make sure that you have the items necessary in your truck to move big items, or big products. So again, one of my friends ordered a whole bed, and in the truck there were, some moving blankets and some different cranes, some different pulleys that individuals could use to really move the items, because again, customers are looking for a seamless delivery process. So you want to make sure you're offering your customers those options. And again, customers are looking for a great experience. So you want to make sure that you're able to keep up with that demand. Again, the example that I use of one of my old coworkers who took over a new route. He had a very lovely couple who just wanted to make sure that their items were delivered to the correct house, because apparently the route's GPS would mix up their house with another house. So he made it his thing to, have a system in place where his system was, okay, I'm going to get to know this person. I'm going to make sure I know what color car they have, so I understand even if I'm having an off day and the GPS takes me to the wrong house, I know for sure this is not the right place. Things like that, customers are looking for that, and they will leave you a terrible review. I am a review leaver. I try not to leave terrible reviews. I do like to leave honest reviews. And an honest review can turn out to be a terrible review. So you just want to make sure you're staying on top of that. And make sure, again, you have those different things in place. So if you're delivering food, you want to make sure you have heated bags so that the food doesn't get cold. Nothing is worse. You're trying to watch a movie. You order your food. You take your shower, your bath. It was a long day at work. You get your food and the pasta's cold. That's a personal experience that I've had. I was very, very disappointed. I never ordered from there ever again through a delivery service. I always just went straight to the restaurant to get my food because I was very, very disappointed. The restaurant was not that far from where I was staying and my food was cold. So I understood that they didn't have a good GPS system in place. They were just trying to get orders out the quickest, and instead of taking maybe the furthest delivery first, they did the furthest one last, or the person who ordered first. I know Uber offers that option. I believe it's Uber, where you can tip to become a priority delivery. So I've done it before. Now, while I'm not always willing to pay too much for convenience, I do like convenience. So I'm definitely one of those customers who will take advantage of those options. So if you're looking to get into business, these are just some suggestions, some ideas, and some steps that you want to have in place when dealing with the demand of the delivery industry. Right now, again, we're just seeing an influx of e-commerce Customers are looking for better delivery options and local delivery options, quicker delivery options. So if you're looking to get into business, this might be one of the ones that you want to get into. We're going to continue to see a rise in the demand for shipped items, okay? So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get into my favorite segment of the show, the Hometown Heroes, okay? Stay locked in. We'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Today we're talking about the logistics industry and how they're faring during the pandemic, how we're going to continue to see a demand for these items, and how a lot of business owners are trying to pivot during this time. We're seeing a lot of the big names looking to scale down a little bit, looking to have that more personal interaction with their local shoppers and who are looking for their favorite as they would call it, Main Street attraction. So normally in every major city, there's some type of main street or main avenue where it's like the shopping district. A lot of customers are looking to get back to them because, again, during the pandemic, a lot of individuals are looking to go with the people they trust. So a lot of local towns, the populace of that town do go back to those local figureheads to get their items and to get, certain shipment. I know, for example, in my city, there is a fabric store called Gaffney's. Now, if you do anything with fashion, I'm not drop shipping fashion. I'm saying you're actually cutting material and putting it together and doing customized pieces, which is another industry on the rise. Just a little seamless plug. You will know about Gaffney's if you're in the city. They had an option during the pandemic where you could call in and order. And I know one girl who was doing deliveries, so you would let her know your order. She would go get them for, a small fee. You could definitely get your items delivered same day, right? I wish Gaffney's put that in place, but they have such a high demand. I'm not sure they will be able to meet that demand just yet. So if you are looking to get into business, that might be something, free game. That might be something you want to look into. If you're a local person, you're looking to do delivery, you might want to reach out to your local business owners. Hey, I'm starting a delivery company. Make sure you have your business card and everything in place, because once the ball gets rolling, it will start going very quickly from what I've seen. So again, you want to reach out to these local businesses. Go to the main figurehead business owners in your area, and just let them know what you're getting ready to get started. And you'll be surprised to see how the community rallies around their own, okay? So again, right now we're getting into my favorite segment. It's called Hometown Heroes, and we'll start with my home. In Philly, there is a brand called Keystone Concierge, and it's a personal assistant service. So they have a few different services that you can sign up for. There's for people to get your car washed or to get it serviced. Dry cleaning. You might not feel like standing in line to buy game tickets. You can go through them. They'll send someone out to do it for you. The Sixers, go Sixers. They are opening up to fans now, so you might not want to go stand in those lines or do any of that. Keystone Concierge has you covered. They'll deliver food. paper products, mail from the post office. You might not want to go to the post office. They'll go handle that for you. They assist with furniture delivery, house cleaning, organizing. So they're taking delivery to a whole nother level, right? So you can literally get them to do, I feel like, anything. They'll even pack your stuff up for you. So if you're getting ready to move, they'll help you pack all your items, and they'll move you, and they'll unpack for you, and they'll organize for you. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. If you can't take your dog to get dog walked, they'll handle that. They'll deliver food and different items for your pet. They have different litter services, taking them to the vet, the groomers, getting them walked. I might take them up on their dog walking because my pet, he's going through this jumping phase. I don't know when it started or where it came from, but he just won't stop jumping. He gets super excited, super happy. He's a big silly dog, and he gets really happy when when people are around. So he's jumping. So we might have to take him on some more walks and things like that. But I'm so busy with entrepreneurship sometimes we can only get that one walk in. So I might have to take them up on that. See, you never know until you start looking. Those local delivery guys are definitely going to become the consumer's best friend. And they do shopping. Keystone Concierge will help with, if you have an elderly parent, or you might have a young relative who needs some help getting their medication and things, dropped off to get their prescriptions filled. They handle that for you. And again, they do the shipping of the fragile items in case you're moving. You might have a friend who is selling something, and you might be selling a dresser set. You don't have a way to go get the dresser set and bring it back to you. You can reach out to Keystone Concierge. The owner, Lori, she's been in Philly, I want to say, for about 20 years now. She got here back in the 90s, I would like to say. So, she has some experience with the city. She understands the culture of the city. That's why she's able to offer these options. Because, again, if you're a busy downtown worker, but you have, your furry friend, and you don't have time to take them to the vet, or you don't have time to go pick up their items from the pet store, she's the one to reach out to. She services, I want to say, all of Philly. She's located in the southwest part of downtown. So definitely want to check her out. Again, she's on Instagram. I think that's just pretty dope. Like all-inclusive. Not only is it delivery, but it's servicing as well. So again, a lot of businesses are looking for different ways to pivot during this time. So while you might think you only need to be a delivery driver to take products from point A to point B, you might want to, take a look at Keystone Concierge and see how you can adapt to that kind of environment. Because to me, that's a great thing to do, especially in a busy city. Another hometown hero is the Atlanta-based crowdsourced delivery service. They pride themselves on same-day delivery called Roadie. And you can download the app. It's considered the nation's first on-the-way delivery service. They use capacity passenger vehicles. They're already on the road. They make regional and last mile deliveries. There's, I want to say, over 100,000 drivers to 11,000 cities nationwide. And they're just looking to have that local footprint. They're not really concerned about being the big name in delivery services. And back in 2020, they were rated in the top 40 of innovative technology companies in Georgia. So I think that's really, really, really cool. They got some of their funding from the UPS Strategic Enterprise Fund and Tomorrow Ventures. So, side note, when you're looking to do these companies, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to venture capitalists. A lot of individuals are looking on how to invest during this time. So again, if you're looking to get into business and you know someone who knows someone, or you want to go online and look up some venture firms, there are a few venture firms that you can go to and look up some information and some data. One, for example, the company is called Venture Loop, and that's ventureloop.com, and you can search for venture capital companies either in your area or in different locations to see if they're looking to invest in your company. So Roadie was one of those companies who definitely took that opportunity, the owner Mark, and got this this great, I would say it's a really great company set up. I love their interface on their website. It's really easy to navigate. They show you who they are. They show you, if you have a big enterprise, they can meet your demands. If you have a small business, they can meet your demands. Plenty of personal reviews. And you can sign up. You can become a driver. So there's definitely some career options for you in this brand. I think what's cool about it as well is that they pride themselves on the same day delivery. And again, like we stated all episode long, customers are looking for convenience. They're looking for quick delivery, good delivery, almost like with Beyonce and her Ivy Park delivery. They're looking for the full experience. They want to feel very good when they got their item. I know some customers who I've used a local delivery individual for, they were so surprised that they got their item so quick, because I believe the first time I used them, I want to say, just to make it simple, we'll say they ordered around like Sunday or Monday night. It was a late night. I got the notification. Me and my business partner were getting the items ready. We reached out to our delivery guy. And then I want to say maybe within 2 days from the day the customer paid for their item, the item was packaged up and ready to go. Now, sometimes we do custom orders, so we're not able to get it out as quickly. But in this case, with the customer order, we had multiple pieces already ready. So we got those together, got our delivery guy to deliver them. And when the customer we knew when the customer got their order, because they put us on Instagram, they tagged us, and they were just really excited. Like, oh my gosh, I just ordered it. I've never gotten my packages this fast, and although they might not be aware that we're using a third-party delivery service, we like to shout out our partners, just to give them that credit. We love what they do. We want to keep those relationships going. A lot of customers, they just don't have time to pay attention to every post that you post up. So knowing that they understand at this brand, we're looking to get them their items quickly in a nice fashion. We make sure they're packaged up properly. We make sure we sanitize everything. We take pictures before they leave our shipment area, so that when the customers do get it, they understand that when it left us, it was in good condition. So that way, as the business owner, we know who to go to when there's an issue. I don't want to say we know who to shift blame to, because as the owner, you take the hit. No matter who on your team does it, as the person in charge, you want to make sure you're being held responsible for everything that's going on. So again, having those systems in place, that goes back to the system of how you're processing orders, how you're getting them out, and how you're getting them to the customer in the best way, and making sure that the customers are really satisfied with what they have. And I think these companies are doing an awesome job. Again, that's Keystone Concierge and that's Rody. And I think that with those companies, although one only services a certain area and the other can service multiple areas and has over 100,000 trucks nationwide, we can see the impact from both brands. So it doesn't matter if you're a large company or a small company. The delivery service industry is definitely seeing an increase, is seeing a boom right now. You just want to make sure you're getting into the right niche or the right area of that field, so that you're able to better assist the customers and the consumers. Because without the consumers, there wouldn't be too much business going around, right? Well, I would like to just thank you for listening to the GSMC Business Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would just like to ask that you remember to please subscribe to us, show us some love, write a nice review. Just let us know how we're doing and any topics that you're looking to cover. I saw a few reviews went in. So thank you for all the listeners. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. That's where the GSMC Business Podcast has the most updates and different industry trends and different articles that we think that you should take a look at, all right? So again, it's your girl Moriah. Thanks so much for tuning in. Peace.
You've been listening to the GSMC Business News Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type GSMC into your favorite podcast app to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Please subscribe to the podcast and follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.